The Bucks lost big last night to the Giants, and some recent performances have me wondering how deep is the Pirates pitching really? That's next on Locked On Pirates.
You are Locked On Pirates, your daily Pittsburgh Pirates podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Welcome to Locked On Pirates. I'm Gary Morgan. We'll discuss last night's game a bit, and I really want to talk about how deep the Pirates pitching is and how the team should focus their energy the rest of the way. Logan Webb dominated, and the Giants powered their way to an 8-1 win. Let's break it down a little bit. Giants came out swinging, and the Pirates couldn't keep up. Logan Webb was masterful, 10 strikeouts over 6 innings, allowing just 1 run on 7 hits. It was his 6th double-digit strikeout game of the season, and he surpassed 1,000 career innings in the process. On the other side, Mike Burrows continued to show flashes of potential, but there is a growing concern. Home runs are becoming a real issue. Burrows gave up 3 home runs last night, 2-run shots to Christian Koss and Willy Adames, and a solo blast to Gerard Encarnacion. That brings the season total to, I believe, 11? I think it's 11 if I counted right, and it's something the coaching staff will need to address. Burrows was charged with 6 runs in 4 2/3 innings, and while he's still developing, the long ball is clearly his Achilles heel right now. A lot of that comes, I think, when you're a guy that specializes in throwing a changeup. There are times when guys are going to be waiting on it, especially if it's something that you throw as often as Mike Burrows throws. We'll circle back and finish up talking about Burrows, especially when we start talking about the pitching depth. But Brian Reynolds drove in. The Pirates only run with a single in the 3rd, and he collected 2 hits on the night. Cam Sanders made his MLB debut, tossing 2 scoreless innings of relief. It was a great moment for the rookie. His father was up there, super excited. He pitched in the bigs himself during the 90s. The Pirates loaded the bases in the 3rd inning with a chance to take control, but Nick Gonzalez grounded out to end the threat. That was kind of the turning point. Webb looked like locked in after that, and he didn't give the Bucks a real opportunity beyond that inning, where they had 4 straight singles strung together, which is kind of how this offense operates, right? Pirates have now lost 3 of their last 4. They're cooling off after a strong stretch of 10-3. And today they're going to wrap up the series with Andrew Heaney facing off against Robbie Ray. Heaney's been inconsistent, and he'll need to keep the ball in the yard, something Burrows couldn't do last night. If the Pirates want to take this series, Andrew Heaney has got to be what he has been at PNC Park. He's been a completely different pitcher at home versus on the road. At PNC Park, he's been sharp, posting a 2.53 ERA and holding opponents to the 2.19 average. But away from home, it's been a struggle. A 6.45 ERA, 13 home runs, and a 265 opponent average. Not great stuff there. The home runs are definitely a thing. PNC Park helps keep you from giving up a lot of home runs. Normally, it certainly didn't help Mike Burrows. Those were some no doubt home runs, too, that he gave up, especially the one to dead center to Encarnacion. That was a missile. I mean, you don't often get no doubters to center field. And I know we're spoiled here because we do have O'Neal Cruz who can hit those types of home runs off the batter's eye and everything. This one was in the bushes, and I don't think there was much doubt as to where it was going. It's been a thing. Last night's game was frustrating. It's what happens, though, when your team is not built to compete head-to-head with other teams that are going to hit home runs. Pirates had almost just as many hits as the Giants last night, but the Giants hit 3 bombs. Pirates hit all singles. And I just think when you side by side the Pirates with whoever they're facing, that's always going to be the starting point problem. That's always the deficit. You're always starting with a deficit. You don't have the ability to make real quick impact runs. And you saw the night before the difference of what happens when the Pirates do hit a home run, especially with somebody on base. It puts them right back in a game. That's something that has to be there. That's an element that has been missing all season for this baseball team. And even when they've gotten home runs, I mean, there's no way for me to quantify this, not without literally going back and rewatching just about every game. But most of their home runs don't feel like they're in very big situations, do they? It feels like they're solo shots, or they come in garbage time when you're already down 6 runs, or they come real early on and there's plenty of time for the other team to come back from it. But not very often the Pirates are down 3 or 4 runs and somebody steps up and hits a big 2-run homer that kind of like resets the scale. Not unlike what we saw Jack Sawinski do the other night en route to that come from behind walk-off win. That sort of stuff just has not happened often enough this season. And the Pirates have done well to limit home runs by and large. The pitching staff is pretty darn good at it. And I think they've balanced the scales a little bit in that regard. But it's kind of impossible to ever fully balance the scales when the offense just is not helping accomplish that feat. I don't think Brian Reynolds has had a home run since the beginning of July. Actually, might even be the end of June. And while he's not somebody that you should count on for 30 home runs or whatever, he is a guy that has consistently hit over 20. And so far, it's not been looking like he's going to hit that number. And we're running out of games quickly here. I mean, there's still time for a guy like Reynolds to go on a tear and hit 8 or 9 home runs and get his numbers up where at least that part would be kind of appropriate. And he is looking a little bit better recently at the plate. But I don't think that we've seen signs that the power's on the way back. We've seen a couple fly balls to the warning track type things, but really what he's done differently here in this little stretch is he started to take a little bit of an opposite field approach left-handed. He's starting to be a little bit more comfortable with trying to hit edge pitches instead of trying to take edge pitches all the time. It's expanding his zone a little bit. It'll ultimately lead to strikeouts too, but I think it'll lead to more base hits because he's not getting pitched to very much. There's exactly like 2 people in the lineup that you should legitimately be afraid are going to put one over the wall. Brian Reynolds and O'Neal Cruz. And pitchers aren't letting them see it. O'Neal Cruz doesn't see hardly any pitches in the zone. And not to his credit, he's really struggling to adjust to it. He gets frustrated. He starts swinging at garbage. And he takes things that are close enough that he really might be able to do damage with them. Practices patience at the wrong time. This game, though, it was a reminder of what an elite pitcher Logan Webb really is. He was just in total control. And for the Pirates, the concern now shifts, if you ask me, to Mike Burrows and his vulnerability to long ball. It's a fixable issue, but it is starting to cost them games. Still, there were positives. Reynolds continues to hit. Cam Sanders' debut was a great moment. Let's see if the Bucs can bounce back and take the rubber match today. The bullpen is going to become an issue if they don't get things straight here pretty soon with the starting rotation. The starting rotation has struggled one complete turn through the rotation now. Okay, we've got the deadline in the rear view. We have now had a full week to soak on it and digest. And if you didn't think you were going to be here and you still are, okay, accept it. And if you didn't think you were going to be here and didn't want to be, well, still move forward and accept it. I think that's where we are. A full week beyond that deadline, I expect to see the rotation kind of snap back to what they have been doing. Andrew Heaney's last outing, he can't have thought he'd be a Pittsburgh Pirate. Now, that's way in the past. He knows he is. Let's go ahead and get out there and see what you can get done. I expect them to probably look to have a short leash with Andrew Heaney. If only because I think they're going to want him to be successful, and pushing him a little bit longer into a match might not be the best way to go. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit about this awesome Pirates pitching depth that we keep talking about them having. They have so much of it, they should be trading it for bats willy-nilly left and right, right? Right? Today's episode is brought to you by Gameday Hue, and so is this hat I'm wearing. For the Pirates fans like me, who sometimes like to go out there and support my team colors, this one really hits the mark without the logo. Gameday Hue makes clean, no-logo gear with team-inspired colorways for every pro and college fan base. It's all about letting your colors speak for you. No giant logos, just smart, versatile style that works on game day, on course, or anywhere in between. I love rocking it on the course because honestly, sometimes when I'm out there, I don't feel like answering Pirates questions or hearing Pirates comments, but I do want to rock the colors, so I like to do that. And it's not just hats. Check out cool split shade gloves made for the golf course, or the perfect gift for the fan who has everything. I mean, I don't have everything, but I'll take a couple more of these gloves. They're pretty sweet. Right now, you can get 15% off with code MLB15 at GamedayHue.com. That's GamedayHue.com. The code even stacks on bundle deals. So now is the time to load up. Let your colors talk, because colors speak louder than words. That's GamedayHue.com. Code MLB15. Hey, welcome back to Locked On Pirates. You know the drill by now. Hit me with a subscribe and a like, and tell a friend about the show. We continue to grow, and we continue to grow because of you. Today we're going to dive a little bit into the Pirates pitching depth at AAA, focusing on Bubba Chandler, Thomas Harrington, and Hunter Barco. There's been a lot of buzz about Chandler getting the call, but the numbers in recent events might tell a different story. Bubba Chandler has electric stuff, inconsistent results. He's got the tools, mid-90s fastball, sharp breaking stuff. But over the past month in Indianapolis, he's posted a 5.40 ERA with 15 walks and 3 homers allowed in under 24 innings. The strikeouts are there, 25 in that span. But the command just isn't consistent. He's averaging 4.1 innings per outing. His whip in recent games is up over 166, 1.66, which is awful. Home runs are becoming a real issue. He's been burned by the long ball in 3 of his last 6 starts. And when you pair that with a rising walk rate, it's clear, to me at least, he's not quite ready for the major league. The ceiling is high, but the floor is still a little shaky, if you ask me. Thomas Harrington, he's gotten a taste of the bigs. Harrington's month has been a roller coaster. He was called up for a brief MLB stint in April, making 2 appearances. His debut against Tampa was rough. It was the first time in his pro career he had walked 4 batters in a game. So, at the time, Derek Shelton chalked it up to nerves, and Harrington himself admitted definitely wasn't himself that night. He was optioned back to AAA, and shortly after, where he's been solid, but not dominant. ERA around 5.80 with flashes of swing and miss stuff, but some hard contact too. His MLB debut showed he's close, but not quite ready to stick. The stuff is there, but he needs to refine his command and pitch sequencing. And we just saw him again last week, and the same kind of thing happened. Everything he did was uncharacteristic of what we've seen in the minors. Pinpoint command in the minors. Absolutely no idea where the ball is going when he gets to the majors. This has all the markings of a guy who is suffering from debut nerves. And I would recommend, when you're on a team that has no care in the world for your record, really, now is the time to push through with a guy like that. Okay? You want to see what he looks like when the nerves settle down. Last time they did that, and he came out and he shoved for a few innings and closed out a game for Carmen Majinski on the back end of his promotion to the bigs. This last time, he had one bad outing and boom, right back to the minors. Now, the team may have communicated that with him, but all I'm saying is that doesn't teach a kid to come up here and not have nerves next time. Look what happens when you struggle. You get sent right back down. You know, if we had that same approach with, say, Mike Burrows, well, Mike Burrows wouldn't have continued to start either, would he? How about Carmen Majinski? He wouldn't have continued to start. You have to push through that a little bit, I think, with guys. And they're, for some reason, very, very quick on the trigger with Harrington. Doesn't mean that I think he's ready. He could be. He might be. He might not be. But we'll never know because they bring him up here and don't let him get through the nerve zone before we decide. And then Hunter Barco is the other one. I think he's quickly climbing. Barco might be, in my opinion, the guy that doesn't get mentioned as often and really should get mentioned. He's kind of a sleeper of this group. Over the past month, he's posted a 2.60 ERA with over 30 strikeouts in 25 innings and a whip around 1.15. He's limiting walks and keeping the ball in the yard, exactly what you want from a developing lefty. Barco doesn't have the same hype as Chandler or Harrington, but his consistency might earn him a look if the Pirates need a reliable arm down the stretch. And I think Hunter Barco probably has earned a look more so than Bubba Chandler if you really want to make it a competition between those two. And you can't really include Harrington because he's already on the 40-man and has been here a couple times. But fans continue to clamor for Chandler like nothing has changed. I'm sorry, the numbers suggest he needs more time. Harrington got a taste of the majors and showed promise, but also showed why patience is key. And Barco might be the most MLB ready of the three right now, I think. Pirates have options. Rushing any of these arms could backfire. Development isn't linear, all that stuff that you guys know about. But if they're going to call them up, it can't be like what they've done with Harrington. They call him up, have him bomb, then ship him right back out. They just did the same thing with Johan Oviedo. To me, that's not the way you onboard guys to the majors. You cannot treat them like it's a one and done, or you had a bad outing, you're back out. Not when you aren't looking for a spot start. And this is not the situation we're in. We're not in a spot start situation. We're in a trying to figure out who kind of gets a head start for being in our rotation next year. The way that they have been doing this process this year in particular, first, I can argue that they were stubborn with Bubba Chandler early on. He looked a lot better early on in the season than he does now. Perhaps he's just tired. He is getting way beyond his innings mix now. So you're talking about stretching into areas unknown to Bubba Chandler at this point. And when that happens, well, you don't know how they're going to react to it physically. Maybe he doesn't have as much in the tank. Maybe, and a lot of people will go, well, his velocity's fine. He must be fine. That doesn't necessarily mean that just because he's able to carry the velocity does not mean that he is not tiring. There's a lot more that goes into pitching than just being able to hit a velocity. Tiring is sometimes losing a ball on the arm side a little bit for some guys. Tiring for others is putting way too much spin on a ball, trying to overcompensate for being a little fatigued and missing your spots because of it. Losing a fastball high because you don't have the command to come down the mound and really drive through your pitch. There's a lot of things that fatigue cause. And all of that could be true for any of these three pitchers. They're all reaching virgin territory for what they've done before. In fact, if you call up Barco, it's not like you could just stick him in the rotation and run through the end of the season like no problem. Hunter Barco is a guy you're going to have to be very careful with as far as how many innings you allow him to throw. But one thing you cannot do, if you ask me, with rookie pitchers, young pitchers, guys coming back from the IL, whatever, when you're in a position like the Pirates are where the record does not matter, and it doesn't. The record does not matter this year. Not anymore. That ship sailed with the way they started. It's over. Doesn't matter that they've been playing almost 500 ball under Don Kelly, because they're never going to get the record back to where it is, because they need to be playing like 675 ball under Don Kelly to get it to the point where it mattered. But these pitchers, you can't bring them up here, if you ask me. If you were teaching your kid how to read, and every time they pronounced a word wrong, you smack their hand with a roller. They're not. How long do you think it's going to take them to learn to read? Do you think they're going to learn to read faster, or do you think they're just going to be afraid to continue to learn to read? That's where I'm at with the Pirates pitching. When you're onboarding kids, you have to have opportunity. You got to be willing to give the opportunity, and you got to be able to deal with the lumps. You know you're going to get them. And when you're doing this thing where you're like, okay, well, this week we'll bring up Harrington, and next week we'll bring up this guy, and next week we'll bring up this guy, and we'll just bounce them all around. One start here, one start there. Oviedo here, Harrington there. And what happens to the bullpen when these guys come up and they suffer from nerves or whatever, or short outing expected syndrome, because you knew Oviedo wasn't going to have a long outing. You probably suspected that Harrington wasn't going to have a long outing. He hasn't been having long outings. So when you have that whole perfect storm, well, what happens to the bullpen? It gets destroyed. Not to mention, we're right after the trade deadline where you started shipping guys out, so you have a weakened bullpen already. You're creating a weakness out of a strength. Pick a guy, bring him up, give him time. Deal with the lumps. This team needs a lesson in how to onboard talent from the minors to the majors. It's an undying, never-ending problem for this franchise. And it's got to get fixed. You can't be a team that sells to the fans the only way we're going to get better is internal growth, and then be desperately afraid and incompetent at internal growth. And actually, it'd be like being a farmer, growing food to full maturity, and then cutting it off in the vine and leaving it lay in the field for the birds to come and scavenge. That's what this team does with prospects. That's what this team needs to get better at doing. When we come back, I want to talk about how they can focus their energy the rest of the way. Ever wish managing your money was easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning to pick big purchases, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. My wife loves to ask me how much I spend on golf, and I always just spit back at her the greens fees. Well, with Monarch Money, I'm able to look in a little deeper. How much am I spending on the tees, the balls, the drinks afterwards, the cigars, the the batteries for my rangefinder. It's able to categorize it all and really show you what you're spending. Not that it's going to stop me. Golf is a disease, people. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. Hey, welcome back to Locked On Pirates. Let's dive into a topic that's been simmering all season. How the Pirates are managing their roster, specifically the balance between playing veterans and onboarding prospects. It's a delicate dance, and frankly, it's one they've misstepped on more than once. Pirates made a conscious decision to keep guys like Andrew Heaney, Tommy Pham, and Isaiah Kiner-Falefa around. And to be fair, they've contributed. And to be even more fair, Paul Skeens seems to be on board with that decision. That seemed to impress him that they kept those guys around. I don't agree with him, but I can't discount the fact that he thinks it's important. Heaney's been a stabilizing force in the rotation. Pham brings leadership and professional approach at the plate, and Kiner-Falefa has delivered in clutch moments, including a walk-off recently. But the question is, at what cost? These veterans are eating up innings and at-bats that could be going to younger players who need reps to prove themselves. Here's where things get tricky. A lot of prospects currently on the roster, like Liover Peguero, weren't promoted because they forced the issue. They were promoted because the team ran out of options. Whether it was injuries or roster crunches or Rule 5 protection, whatever. The Pirates backed themselves into a corner on these prospects. And I think we're watching them kind of repeat the same pattern with the next wave, like Nick York and Billy Cook and others who are going to be, some like 28, 29 next year, like Billy Cook. These guys are nearing arbitration eligibility. Some of them by the time they're done farting with how many years they're think about Jack Sawinski. Okay, he has not performed up here. I get it. And the Pirates have taken their sweet time deciding whether he's going to be a major league player or not. They sent him to the minors a couple times, half of last year, most of this year, whatever. I understand. He has not played like a major league player. So of course the minors are an option, right? Now, here's what they've done. They brought him up. There's about 50 games left, right, this year. They've dedicated. They're going to play him a lot. Got to see what we got, right? That's what they're saying. We got to see what we got. Well, yeah, you got to see what you got because next year, Jack starts costing money. He hasn't earned money, right? This is the guy that's going to be going into arbitration. Would you take him? Would you tender him? And even if he say catches fire in these 50 games, we've seen Jack catch fire for little stretches before. Let's say he goes on one of his 25, 30 game heaters that he did in his first couple seasons where he hit all those home runs. Let's say that happens this year and he hits 15 home runs down the stretch. Let's go nuts. Go nuts. 15, 20 home runs, whatever you think is incredible. Now, if you're a Pirates manager, you're going, I have to tender him, right? But aren't you still thinking he's still this kind of streaky player. I'm not going to get that all the time. I'm not. You're not going to learn in 50 games whether Jack is a full season answer or not. If you wanted to learn that, you should have stuck it out back when it didn't matter in 23 and 24 and made sure. Make him show you then. Not now. It's a dangerous game. The clock starts. The cost goes up. Pirates need to shift their mindset from protecting prospects to evaluating them. You can't know what you have if you don't let them play. And if you wait too long, You end up paying more for a player that you're still unsure about. That's what's happening. That's what we've watched. They need to prioritize opportunity over caution. If a prospect is close, give him a shot. Don't wait until you're out of options. Use veterans strategically. Let them mentor and stabilize and fill gaps, but don't let them block development. In other words, sign guys that are worth playing, but don't be afraid to let a prospect pass them just because you're paying for someone else. That's how real teams do it. This team, there's a level, and you know as well as I do, where they cannot pay a veteran and have him sit on the bench. We watch it year after year after year. It makes them afraid to sign free agents because they could block a prospect, and it makes them equally afraid to use the prospect because they're paying a free agent. How often do you expect things to work out perfectly? They don't. They built a farm system that's got some talent in it, but the talent means nothing without opportunity. If they want to build a sustainable winner, they need to stop waiting for prospects to become undeniable and start giving them the runway to grow. Because right now, they're burning service time without building certainty. And that's a recipe for long-term inefficiency. There's a lot of things that Ben Cherington's done wrong, but there's nothing worse than the onboarding from the minor leagues to the major leagues. The entire process is broken. The entire theory is broken. They have got to have a fresh look at how they do this, because it doesn't matter how much talent you accrue in the minor leagues if you're afraid to use it. If $5 million spent on a free agent is enough to block you from bringing up a prospect so that you don't waste that money, you have a problem that you are not going to be capable of fixing. The mindset has got to change here. And sometimes there's no way to change that mindset without changing the minds. That's what we're probably barreling towards. Hey, that's all I got for you today. Let's see if the Pirates can't go ahead and take the rubber match here against the Giants. I'll be back tomorrow morning with a whole new episode where we'll finish up talking about the series and start looking forward to the next one. Should be fun. Reds are always a fun matchup, right? Thanks, everybody. Let's go Bucks.